This is Triggered.
And you will be. Hi friends, as you know, today we're in the new year, and with New Year's becomes new sicknesses, and we've all been hit with the sickness. It is Tuesday, and I understand that Chantel should be telling me a story. However, Chantel is on her deathbed at home.
Not actually.
So that's not Chantel. Surprise!
Surprise!
I've dragged my husband into the closet.
She did.
He has a drink. We are sick, so if we sound, they know we're drinking.
Oh, they know
we're always drinking.
This is what we do. Okay.
So basically, I've got my husband. Now, he's a little rough around the edges. I'm going to put a little PSA out there.
Extraordinarily good looking, too, if you want to.
Yeah. By the end of this, he is probably going to take over, as he does. But I would like to warn everybody.
There's no warning needing here. We're good.
We're good. Okay. So, Michael, this
Yes.
is your first time doing a podcast.
This is.
And you were pretty nervous.
I am.
Why are you nervous?
Well, you girls do a good job.
Thank you.
We'll just see how it goes. Let's go.
It's going to be great, guys. Okay, so I have a story for you.
Okay.
You have no idea what I'm going to tell you.
I have no idea. Now, I used to know exactly what we were doing. She used to read me her edits, and I told her I don't want to hear them anymore. I'd rather hear it right from the podcast.
Yeah.
It's more exciting that way.
It is, yeah. So Mike has a glass of whiskey. I'm actually having a beer because why not? It's Sunday at 3:31. And
Low-cal beer at that.
yeah, we're trying.
She's trying. New year, new her.
I don't know if we told everybody that we were doing dry January. I lasted till January 4th.
I didn't agree to the dry January. I was never going to do it.
No. So here we are, January 5th we're recording. This will be released on Tuesday, and dry January is gone. There's many reasons for that. January's kind of kicked my ass.
Yes.
Getting into it. So Michael, I have a question for you.
Yes, shoot.
Okay, so like when you were younger, obviously like your childhood was a little different because you were born into a military family.
Right. We moved around.
Yeah, and one of the places you lived in Germany, New Brunswick.
Back in Petawawa, Pembroke.
Yeah. When you and your brother, Adam, were little, would you just leave the house?
At a young age, that's just what you did then.
Yeah.
We were running around in the backyard. We lived in this big apartment complex.
In Germany?
In Germany, right beside German neighborhood. Yeah, and we were allowed to I was there till I was about 6. So I remember playing just me and my brother.
Going around the neighborhood.
Going around the neighborhood, sneaking into garages.
Getting in trouble.
We're not going to get into those stories, but yes,
Mike's
absolutely.
always been the wild one in the family.
Yes.
So
I did tiptoe that line a little bit, maybe even cross it once in a while.
he's bad. Yeah. He's a bad kid. He was a bad kid. And he's still a bad kid. But I keep him in line. I feel like today's story is one that does hit close to home. I mean, for anyone who remembers the freedom of childhood. It's about 3 young boys who are just 8 years old, living the dream of endless outdoor adventure, unbridled imagination, in a time that the world felt a little less scary. But as we all know, innocence can be shattered in an instant.
Right.
And I mean, I feel like there were a lot of moments as a child, my friends and I would like go around, and there was this one guy, before I continue.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so there was this weird dude that lived at the end of our road. So my mom and I lived in a house.
Okay.
In front of the house was a family of 5, I believe. So there were 3 girls and the mom and dad. And mom and I lived in an apartment behind it. It was like a duplex.
Okay.
And so luckily, 2 of the girls that lived in front of me, one was the same age as me, and one was a year younger. So we were all little besties. And we'd run around, go to the park, bike, whatever. There was this weird ass dude that lived at the end of the road, and he had all these cats. I remember him being like, "Do you want to see my kittens?" And we'd be like, "Yeah." Like,
what was he, an older or younger?
Old dude, like probably like
Like an old cat
50s,
man.
60s, yeah.
Which is kind of rare.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is rare. It's usually women who have a bunch
Yeah,
of
an
cats.
old cat lady, you know.
So it was the old cat man. But I remember
has a
this.
mustache and
Yeah, he was just kind of weird. Really gray hair, overweight, would sit on his porch and just let us play with his cats.
cigarettes and-
Yeah, of course. It was like the early 90s. And so He literally one day was like, if you want to see my kittens inside the house, you have to come sit on my knee.
Oh, boy.
And my friend was like, and I was like, I think I hear our moms calling. And we ran away. But we used to do these like secret missions and like steal his kittens to like give them a better life. We bring them back to the house and give them milk and stuff and then bring them back.
All full and happy.
Full and happy, yeah. So anyways, that was my childhood. But like, do you remember what it looked like to be 8? Because I do. It was like playing hide and seek and you could be anything you wanted and you play capture the flag and you'd be in the bushes and you'd be, I don't know, racing through the neighborhood on your bike and going to the corner store. And like, you could get a lot for your pocket change back then.
Penny candy at Paul's Variety.
Oh my God, you could get a whole bag.
A whole bag.
100 candies for $1. It's a lot of candies.
Those are good days.
I wonder if there are still penny candies.
I don't know.
Like, are they 5 cents now due to inflation?
No, I don't even know if yeah, well, maybe.
Since like COVID, can you go into a candy store and fill up a bag? Are you allowed to do that? Remember?
I think, well, we get that at Bulk Barn, but it's not the same price now.
Oh God, no. We can't afford Bulk Barn, babe.
We can't afford Bulk Barn.
Place is crazy. Right. Delicious, but crazy. But back then, our biggest concerns were making it home in time for dinner and deciding which flavor of popsicle to pick. That was our biggest issue at 8. Right. But those days feel like a distant memory now, don't they?
They do.
Like, it almost feels unreal.
It does feel unreal. Well, technology will do that, too.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine letting our kids wander so freely now.
No, and I don't know why that is. I mean, it's not like it's more unsafe.
I think we're just more knowledgeable of the dangers out there because of socials.
Right.
So, and that's what makes this story so gut-wrenching for me, is it's about 3 little boys who are living that carefree childhood right up until May 5th, 1993.
Okay, and where are we?
We are in Memphis, Arkansas. Okay. Most of our stories are in the States, I would say.
Okay.
I would say like 95%, and then everywhere else. I don't know why. Maybe just because like...
Maybe it's more documented.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking May 5th, 1993. Steve Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore were all second graders at Weaver Elementary School in West Memphis, Arkansas. These boys were inseparable besties. So when I think about it, I think of like, it would be like you and Adam and one of your buddies.
Yeah.
You know, they were just so tight. They were literally the cutest because they achieved the rank of wolf in their local Cub Scout pack.
Oh, cute.
It's cute, eh?
Yeah.
They spent their afternoons riding bikes, playing outside until the sun dipped below the horizon. So I want to talk about each individual boy briefly because they each were individuals and they each had a story to tell. So let me tell you about each one. Steve Branch was a blonde-haired honor student who lived with his mom, Pamela, and his stepdad, Terry, and his little half-sister, Amanda. He loved school and was always full of energy. So he was just that excitable kid that was always up for adventure. Well-behaved. Yeah. So just a cutie by all aspects. Christopher Byers had light brown hair and still believed in the Easter Bunny and Santa.
Oh, well, we all did it probably at that age.
At 8?
At 8 years old, yeah, I guess that was kind of just when you were...
Well, I was a little bit late in that, I believed, for a while. Until my mom forgot to fill her stockings, but Mom, that's for another story. So he lived with his mom, Melissa, and his adoptive dad, John Mark Byers. He was described as a typical 8-year-old full of curiosity and mischief. So he was kind of like, I would say more like the middle range for the boys. I think he probably reminds me of how you were as a kid. A little mischievous. Yeah.
Join that line just a little bit.
Just a little. And then there was Michael Moore. He was the leader of the trio. He had brown hair and a strong sense of pride in his Cub Scout uniform. He actually often would wear his uniform even when they weren't at meetings.
Oh, attaboy.
He was so proud. He lived with his parents, Todd and Diana, and his older sister, Dawn. And these boys had their whole life before them. Like, they were... You know, good grades, typical young kids. They were scouts.
Middle-class family.
Middle-class families, had big dreams. But unfortunately, on a warm spring evening in 1993, everything changed.
Okay.
It started like any other day. The boys had been out playing after school, just as they always did. So this was like a normal day. They're playing. They just got out of school. It's a good day. It's sunny. And their neighborhood in West Memphis was bordered by Robin Hood Hills, a wooded area that was a favorite spot for kids to explore.
Oh, that would be fun.
Right? So you've got like the forest there and you're in the woods. And I actually lived in an area like that when I was young. I was a little bit older, I think like 10, 11. But I remember the neighborhood kids and we would go out and we'd explore all the areas, and there'd be
Right.
creeks, and it was fun. And that's where they were last seen, unfortunately, was by that wooded area, riding their bikes around 6:30 p.m. When the boys didn't come home, panic quickly set in. Their families began searching frantically, calling neighbors and eventually calling the police. Despite the growing fear, no one could have imagined the horror that would unfold the next day.
So these kids would normally be home on time.
Yeah, they were
This
rule
was
followers.
unusual. Yeah, okay.
So, dinner's ready. Where are the kids?
Yeah, we weren't late for dinner. When we were kids, it was 5 o'clock.
Mom would have whooped your
yeah,
ass.
we were there at 5, but then we were gone. We ate,
Yeah.
we pieced out.
What was your, most horrific dinner that Mom used to make for you guys as kids?
Oh, I used to hate lasagna.
Really?
So what I used to do, don't tell Mom. So what I used to do is I would fill my mouth with the food and then excuse myself from the dinner table and spit it in the toilet and flush it and go back and do it again. And then I ended up getting caught.
Oh, man, your dad must have been pissed.
Oh, no, my mom was pissed.
Mine was pork chops.
Oh, pork chops.
Fucking pork chops.
Yeah.
And it was always pork chops. It
Yeah,
seemed like
well.
every third day, Mom was like, I'm making pork chops. And I just wanted to be like, great, Mom. Like,
Thanks,
I
Mom.
hate
You're
you.
great.
Yeah. Despite everything, families are searching frantically. The police are called, but they're like, hey, these kids are literally not here.
Right.
And that went on through most of the night. So a more thorough police search, they pulled themselves together around 8 a.m. and they really started looking. Because now they're
getting scared.
yeah. At first,
it's like, oh, they got lost in the bush, maybe.
yeah. They were exploring,
Yeah.
just being kids. A more serious search started the following day, which is May 6th, led by the Crittenden County Search and Rescue personnel.
Okay, so they had
A unit.
organization for this.
Yeah,
Okay.
so searchers canvassed all of West Memphis, but focused primarily on Robin Hills, where the boys were reportedly last seen. Despite shoulder-to-shoulder search, they literally created a human chain. I don't know, have you seen that before?
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
So they link arms and they comb through the bush.
Oh, they were that close. Usually, I don't think they were that close. Kind of spread out.
Shoulder
just a
to
little.
soldier.
Yeah.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Soldier.
Soldier.
Yeah, so they literally came up with nothing. So this started at 8 a.m. Around 1:45, juvenile parole officer Steve Jones spotted a boy's black shoe floating in a muddy creek that led to a major drainage canal in Robin Hood Hills,
Okay.
which is not a good sign.
No, it's starting to get a little scary. But,
Yeah.
I mean, there's always hope.
And shoes fall out of
Yeah,
backpacks
they could have
every
went
day.
swimming or...
So unfortunately, a subsequent search of the ditch revealed the bodies of 3 boys.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. They had been stripped naked.
No.
They were hog-tied with their own shoelaces.
Oh, boy.
Their right ankles tied to their right wrist behind their back.
Okay.
The same with their left arms and legs. Their clothing was found in the creek, some of it twisted around sticks that had been thrust into a muddy ditch bed.
And they were at the end of the creek?
Yeah.
In the water?
Yeah, they were found. So when I was looking at the photos, the creek, it wasn't a very large creek. It's not like a strong current, so it's not going to pull bodies away.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
So they
it's
were
a
placed
shallow
there.
creek.
Yeah. Okay.
The clothing was mostly turned inside out. 2 pairs of the boys' underwear were never recovered. Fuck. Christopher Byers had lacerations on various parts of his body and mutilations of his scrotum and penis.
Oh, boy.
I know. And this stuff,
We're getting a little bit... Okay.
it's too much. I know.
Jeez.
Michael doesn't like this kind of stuff.
Oh,
The autopsies by forensic pathologist Frank Peretti indicated that Byers died of multiple injuries, while Moore and Branch died of multiple injuries with drowning. So I'm assuming...
like, what do you mean by multiple? Are we talking...
So they were beat. Basically, it looks like Moore and Branch drowned after being beaten, whereas Byers died before being drowned. So I think he probably died before, and the other 2...
like blunt force trauma doesn't really verify?
It doesn't
wound.
really. I'll get into that, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so it's okay. You're ahead of the game, sir.
of the game here.
I love that about you.
You know what I love about you?
What?
I'm not going to say.
Good, because it was probably inappropriate.
It was inappropriate.
Yeah, we're not here for that today, sir.
Not even...
Nope.
No.
Okay, so police initially suspected the boys had been raped. However, later expert testimony disputed this finding. Trace amounts of sperm DNA were found on a pair of pants recovered from the scene. Prosecution experts claim Byers' wounds were a result of a knife attack and that he
Okay.
had been purposely castrated by the murderer.
No.
Yeah, which is really
8
sad.
years old.
Yeah, just a baby. The thing is, there were obvious signs of sexual abuse, but I guess at that time they weren't sure, were they raped? Were they, there's different ways you can sexually abuse somebody. It doesn't
Right.
actually have to be an actual rape.
Is this after they were deceased? Or
They don't know. The defense experts claim that the injuries were most likely the result of postmortem animal predation. The problem is...
Or let's hope anyways.
Yeah, so the police believe the boys were assaulted and killed in the location they were found. And critics argue that the assault, at least, was unlikely to have occurred in the creek. So they probably were killed close to the creek and dumped there. It's hard to say. So for me, I'm kind of on the fence with that, though, because I'm like, how many fucking animal predators, would have done that much damage?
In that short period of time.
Yeah, it's not that long of a time, really. No. They were saw at 6:30. Now we're less than 24 hours that they've been gone.
I mean, it's possible, but...
Ironically enough, Byers was the only victim with drugs in his system. He was prescribed Ritalin in January 1993 as part of a treatment for his ADD, or ADHD, I guess. The initial autopsy report describes the drugs as carbamazepine and the dosage at subtherapeutical level. His father said Byers may not have taken his meds that day. So the kids were not drugged. The only drugs obviously in the system was from Byers, and it was a very, very low dose.
Okay.
So maybe he hadn't taken his meds.
Okay.
The discovery of the boy's body sent shockwaves through Memphis. The police were under immense pressure to find the perpetrator, and fast. But instead of following solid leads, they zeroed in on 3 teenage boys from the area: Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jessie Misskelley Jr. So this is where, as horrific as this case is, and obviously everybody wants to find someone accountable for it. These 3 boys died. We need to find the perpetrators, and we need to act fast because the community is just devastated.
Right. This is also a problem.
It's a major problem in the
because it's almost like we don't care who we catch. Let's just
put it to rest.
Let's put it to rest and look like we did our job. And
yeah. So I'm going to talk about these 3 boys, Damien, Jason, and Jessie.
Okay.
And then I want to have a conversation about it before we continue.
Right.
So Damien was a high school dropout with a penchant for black clothing and heavy metal music. Now, I have a penchant for black clothing.
Means nothing.
Right?
I know we like to paint that picture with...
They're so bad.
Yeah. They're painted as these type black trench coats.
No.
But it really means nothing.
It doesn't mean you're a killer.
Right.
Jason was his quiet best friend. And Jessie had been intellectually disabled, so they don't really know. I would say, I would use the term kind of slow. He was easily influenced. Maybe not the brightest tool in the shed, right?
Right.
The police were convinced that the murders were part of a satanic ritual.
Oh, you hear this all the time.
Yeah, and these 3 teens basically fit the profile. So the thing that pisses me off about it is just because you love heavy music, I've been to a Manson concert. I'm not doing satanic rituals by any means, and here's the thing. There was no physical evidence tying them to the crime. None. Zip.
There doesn't sound like there's any physical evidence of some satanic ritual.
No. Right? Their entire case was built on Jessie Misskelley's so-called confession, which was riddled with inconsistencies and came after hours of intense interrogation. Jessie was 17 at the time and had an IQ of just 72.
Oh, he's banging. That's great. Those are good numbers.
Michael.
Sorry.
It's not funny.
Just putting up the numbers.
It's hard to imagine how anyone could see that confession as reliable because here's the thing. After hours and hours and hours of being interrogated, and this is obviously someone is known to be a little bit more simple, probably easily overwhelmed and easily influenced. How can you take the testimony of somebody like that as a child? He's only 17 after being interrogated, probably intimidated. I just feel like they were so desperate to find these killers that they were like, here's the weakest link, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Baldwin and Echols had been previously arrested for vandalism and shoplifting, respectfully. So they weren't, obviously not respectfully. They had been arrested, they got in trouble, they did their, punishment. They're teenagers.
Yeah, and they're very small little misdemeanor things.
A little vandalism.
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump. You're right.
But, it's possible. Anything is possible.
And things do escalate. But
correct.
Anyways.
It usually escalates on a slower pace, maybe, than vandalism to a triple murder. But
right. Misskelley did have a reputation for his temper, for engaging in fistfights with other teenagers at school. So did you.
Yes.
And Michael doesn't kill spiders. Everyone listening.
That's correct.
My husband is the sweetest, most gentle man I have literally ever met until he's not. He's like the kind of guy, would never hurt a fly, but he's very protective of the people he loves. So basically, Misskelley and Echols had dropped out of high school. However, Baldwin earned high grades and demonstrated a talent for drawing and sketching. He was also encouraged by one of his teachers to study graphic design in college. Echols and Baldwin were close friends and bonded over their similar tastes in music and fiction and over their shared distaste for the prevailing cultural climate of West Memphis, situated in the Bible Belt. We kind of understand that. We grew up in a very Catholic community.
Yeah, went to Catholic schools.
Yeah, and like even the hospital is a Catholic hospital. Right. I know of one instance, a really good friend of mine fell pregnant, and it was going to have to be an abortion situation because the baby was actually rotting inside of her body.
Oh, it was dead.
It was not dead, though.
Oh.
But it was making her really sick, and she was hospitalized.
Oh, okay.
And that hospital was so Catholic. They were like, we cannot perform this here. It's against our beliefs. So that's how Catholic our community is.
Yes.
There's churches everywhere. So I can understand. And I was also a little rebellious about that because we all grew up in Catholic high.
It was fun.
Echols and Baldwin were acquainted with Misskelley from school, but they weren't as close with him as they were with each other. So Misskelley was a little bit more simple, and I feel like there was always that kid in school that just kind of hung with a more like popular group, and they were a little bit more of like a follower.
Okay.
Do you recall anyone
of course.
in your group? Echols' family was poor. They received frequent visits from social workers, and he rarely attended school. He had a girlfriend and run off and later broke into a trailer during a rainstorm, and they were arrested. Though only Echols was charged for burglary. So, like, again, big leap here.
Yeah, it's a big leap.
Echols spent several months in a mental institution in Arkansas and afterward received full disability status from the Social Security Administration.
At what age was this? 17?
Yeah. During Echols' trial, Dr. George W. Woods testified that Echols suffered from serious mental illness characterized by grandiose perceptory delusions.
Okay.
Perceptory delusions. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
Let's look it up. Visual hallucinations and disordered thought process. Substantial lack of insight and chronic incapacitating mood swings. My question is maybe bipolar, but also we could have some schizophrenia in here.
Yeah. Okay.
But there were other suspects as well. In my opinion, they should have been further looked into, but they just weren't because they wanted to quickly close the case. There were other fucking suspects in this case, but they were so hyper-focused on these boys. And like,
it just doesn't sound like these boys.
It doesn't. Right? Like, there's no evidence, and you can't. Like, yes, Misskelley.
That was their like. How do they know? Where did they get the idea of these kids to begin with?
Well, they were already well known in the community, right?
As they weren't. They didn't know them to be in the area. They were just.
We're in Talkmore.
Okay.
Early in the investigation, the West Memphis Police Department turned their attention to two teenagers.
Two different teenagers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris Morgan and Brian Holland. These two, let's just say, they had their share of run-ins with the law. Both had histories of drug offenses, and here's where it gets suspicious. They abruptly left Oceanside, California just 4 days after the boys' bodies were discovered.
Oh, okay.
Don't you find that a little weird?
Yeah.
Things start to unravel on May 17th, 1993. Morgan and Holland were arrested in California. They were given polygraph exams, and the result? They did not come out squeaky clean. Examiners report that both men showed deception when they denied involvement in the murders.
Oh, well.
And, like, during questioning, Chris Morgan made a startling statement. He admitted to a long history of drug and alcohol use, complete with blackouts and memory lapses.
Well, that would do it.
At one point, he even said he might have killed the boys.
Oh, he admitted this?
He said, well, I don't know, I might have done it.
Oh, boy.
Soon, he quickly recanted that statement. Okay, I'm sorry. But in no fucking world am I going to be like, well... Maybe. Plus...
You would never say something like that.
No, maybe I did. I don't know. And also, left the area. Like, there's so many flags here. I'm sorry if Mike and I sound really, like, breathy and nasally.
Yes, we're very sick.
We're very sick. So despite these admissions, the West Memphis Police Department didn't pursue Morgan and Holland further. They were just like, oh, they failed their polygraph test and showed deception. And he said that they might have done it, but it doesn't sound right. Yeah,
so that was a big misstep.
Yeah.
I mean, the polygraph thing, obviously you can't use it, but, I mean, it's a pretty good indicator to look further.
They did. The police actually did send blood and urine samples to the WMPD, but nothing seemed to come of it. Okay. And Morgan's recanted confession, it was barred from being used as evidence during the trial. Can you fucking believe that?
Okay, so they did take these two on trial.
So during the trial, obviously the defense of the boys was like, wait a minute, we have these other suspects. And they failed the polygraph test. They admitted to possibly having been involved.
Right.
And then recanted their statement, and that was that. They're like, oh, okay, well, you said you didn't do it, so I guess that's that. Like, fuck the fuck off.
Wow. Okay.
That's bananas. While the focus shifted away from Morgan and Holland, another lead popped up. And this one is really weird.
This lead popped up during the trial with...
Yes, we're in the trial. So enter Mr. Bojangles.
Mr. Bojangles.
What does that make you think of?
What was that?
What movie? Come on, babe.
Oh, come on. I can't believe I'm slipping that.
The big giant... Remember Bojangles? Mr. Bojangles from The Green Mile?
The Green Mile? There's Mr. Bojangles in the Green Mile?
Yeah, he names his mouse Mr. Bojangles.
No, the mouse...
Bojangles.
Was it Bojangles?
Yes. On the same night the boys went missing at 8:42 p.m., employees at Bojangles restaurant, located about a mile from the crime scene, called the police. They reported a black man who seemed disoriented and bleeding in their restroom. Officer Regina Meeks responded to the call. Here's the fucking kicker about this.
Okay, so this is the night of the murders.
Yeah, so they named him Mr. Bojangles. It's not his name.
He was just in a Bojangles restaurant.
Yeah.
Who named him Mr. Bojangles? Whose idea was that?
I guess he was in the Bojangles restaurant, so they're just calling him Mr. Bojangles.
Okay, all right. I see what you're doing here.
Okay, one of the workers calls the police, and they're like, this black man is
Mr. Bojangles.
Yes, Mike. He's got to get it out of his system.
It's funny.
He shows up at this restaurant. He's bleeding, disoriented. He's in the bathroom making a mess. They call the police. She literally took the report through the drive-through window of the restaurant.
The police officer?
Yeah.
Good for her.
She didn't even enter the restroom where this guy was apparently bleeding.
God.
I wonder if she ordered a side of fries.
You probably got a side of fries.
This is fucking crazy. You're shitty.
That's awful.
A guy is bleeding and acting strange, and no one thinks, maybe we should take a look.
Right. And at this time, they don't know about the murders, though.
No, it was that night. But it doesn't matter. If someone
it doesn't
goes...
matter. No, that's right.
It's crazy. The next day, after the boys' bodies were found, the restaurant manager, Marty King, called the police again, and he thought there might be a connection. When officers finally inspected the restroom, they found blood on the walls and tiles. What?
Wow.
But it gets weirder. The manager also handed over a pair of sunglasses the man allegedly left behind. Police collected blood samples from the restroom, but those samples were somehow lost.
The level of incompetence is amazing.
Isn't this fucking stupid? Fucking lost. Sorry, we lost that on our way home. What? And we're not done yet. During the trial, it came out that a hair belonging to a black male was found on a sheet used to wrap one of the victims. So you're fucking telling me that they find a hair. There's blood samples all over the bathroom. No one investigated, but they're still doesn't cut it.
What? No, it's not going to cut it.
And despite all this, the mysterious Mr. Bojangles has never been identified or investigated further. His sighting was only briefly mentioned during the trial, almost as an afterthought. Oh, these kids are going to go to prison for the rest of their life with no evidence. But this guy around the time the kids were murdered...
So who would have mentioned anything about another suspect during the trial? Well, that would have been... Well, I guess the defense would have brought it up?
Yeah.
How would they have known about this Mr. Bojangles?
Well, the police had reports.
Okay.
Of course, the defense is going to get every police report that was put in.
Right.
And honestly, the case is filled with so many moments like this.
Well, it's so funny that they have these three teenagers and there's zero evidence of them even being there.
Right.
There's no circumstantial evidence.
Right. But yet...
anything about these three teenagers, except
there's
some mental illness and they're a little bit bad.
I wouldn't even say, those mental illnesses, point to murder. I cannot wrap my brain around it.
Makes no sense.
And this case is just completely full of shit like this, and it pisses me off because opportunities for answers, they just slip away. And it's so frustrating. It's so heartbreaking because these were three little boys who deserved justice. At the end of the day, these investigators and police officers, they fucked up. Yes. They fucked up hard.
They messed us up bad. Maybe, and obviously these kids were probably a little bit menaces, probably drove police crazy, but even still depending on something like this.
No. And again, we see this happening all the time in cases we look at. Police are just like, they zone in on one thing and they don't want to be proven wrong.
And they get blinders on, they get
It's
tunnel vision.
Yeah, and is it pride? I don't fucking know. But
it's probably hard. I mean, they do have a hard job. We kind of got to give them a bit of a break, maybe.
In this case, I have no breaks to give.
No, there's no breaks, but...
They need to pin it on someone because the community needs answers and the family need justice for these little babies, and I get that. Nothing about this makes sense. And let's talk about Jessie Misskelley's confession, if you call it that. He was questioned for 12 hours. 12 hours.
This is one of the 3 teenagers that...
The simple one. That was...
Right, 12. Yeah.
And only 46 minutes of this 12-hour interrogation was recorded. Jessie's parents were not present for any of this. He was informed of his Miranda rights, but he later said he didn't understand.
That's right.
Obviously.
The parents would have to consent to allow them. He's a minor. So the parents would have had to say, you can, and I don't need to be there.
That's right.
Right?
But like...
Or they would ask him, do you want your parents here?
Yes.
He can either say yes or no.
But regardless, now that we understand, like, 12 hours of interrogation, I can tell you right fucking now, if a fucking cop had my kid for 2 hours, I'd be like, no, I'm going to be here. This is bananas to me. His confession was taken verbatim, and it's hard to believe. He was scared, exhausted. He was manipulated.
Yeah, he wanted to get that. The biggest thing is when you're there for 12 hours, they want out. So they think in their brain, if I just tell them what they want to hear, I can get out of this room.
I got to get out of here.
I got to get out of here.
And it's almost like a panic, right?
Yeah.
Like they've been there for 12 hours.
They don't understand that if they confess, they're not getting out of there.
So yeah, Jessie did later say, I was scared of the police. He claimed they fed him details about the crime, details he repeated hoping that they would let him go. So they give him all this information. He feeds it back to them. Honest to God, his so-called confession implicated not just him, but Damien and Jason. And the thing that really pisses me off about this entire thing is this boy is simple. And we know that.
Yeah, and they knew that.
And they knew that. He was the weakest link in the group of 3.
Yeah.
I mean, this child... because he is a child, is being told all these horrific details about a crime. He's obviously terrified. So he's like, yeah, I did it. I want to go home to my parents.
He wants to get out of there. He wants to go home.
And here's the kicker. Jessie recanted almost immediately. He said he'd been coerced, but it was too late. The police had their story, and that was it. They were sticking to the story. So God knows what they were saying to him for the other 11 hours, 15 minutes.
They don't hear anything, and they did that on purpose.
Yeah, 100%. And the trial was a circus. The prosecution leaned heavily on Jessie's confession, despite its inconsistencies and lack of physical evidence. They claimed the murders were part of a satanic ritual. Now, it's a very Bible religious community, and they're like, this is what...
That's how you get the community on board.
Yeah.
Okay?
This is what happened.
With no evidence of that.
Do you want to hear the evidence?
Yeah.
Their evidence. A red fiber and a green thread supposedly linking the crime scene to the boys' homes. But even the state's own witness admitted these fibers could have come from anywhere. A fucking thread and a little fiber? Are you joking right now? Come off it.
Right.
The defense teams faced on an uphill battle. For Damien, his interest in the occult and his unique personality became a weapon against him. Prosecutors painted him as the mastermind, a devil-worshipping killer. There were no eyewitnesses, no DNA linking any of them to this crime, and yet it didn't matter.
Did they ever ask these 3 boys where they were the night of the murder? Because it doesn't sound like they knew anything about where these boys were. They kind of just...
Well, I mean, they weren't there, obviously.
Right.
There was nothing them linking they weren't linked to it. There's no possible way you can...
I guess.
Right? The jury was swayed by fear and the emotional weight of the case. Damien was sentenced to death. Jason, just 16 years old at the time, was given life without parole. And Jessie was sentenced to life plus 40 years.
I mean, just put a little extra on that, eh? Here you go. Just put a little tiny extra on there.
And if you're wondering how on earth, you're not alone. Legal experts have torn this case apart for decades. Even the judge overseeing the trials refused to grant new ones, despite glaring issues.
Decades? So these boys...
Yeah.
I'll
get... Well, we're going to get into that. To me, this wasn't about evidence. It was about optics. The prosecution...
I don't understand how they got convicted of all this.
Well...
There's nothing...
You have to remember, you've got a judge from the small town. The jury's from the small town. They need to find somebody. Now, obviously, they listen to heavy metal music and they're interested in the occult, so they must be guilty.
Red and green fiber.
Right?
There
like,
was that.
Fuck the fuck off. And so,
This is awful. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. There's nothing you told me that would make me think these 3 boys...
Did it? Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Because the prosecution had their narrative. In the eyes of the jury, it fit. Honestly.
Didn't they have semen from the boy?
No, there
Or they found
was...
semen somewhere.
No, there was no semen found. They took semen samples.
Oh, there was not. I thought you said
No,
earlier.
but in
Okay.
1993, you have to remember,
They would have had DNA back then.
they had DNA, but it wasn't the same as it is now.
No.
Right?
Right.
And you have to also remember they were in a creek. So some of it could have been washed away. Because you have to remember, this entire trial obviously seems rigged. Those kids had it coming before they even started the trial.
Okay.
They were already deemed, guilty. A lot of the information that is out there about the trial is very fucking hazy at best.
Well, it is. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and the biggest fucking issue with this is the way the crime scene was handled. The crime scene, literally, to put it bluntly, was a fucking disaster. According to Dan Stidham, a former defense attorney, the area was literally trampled. Police removed the bodies from the water before the coroner even arrived.
Okay.
It compromised any chance of determining rigor mortis accurately, because if you move a body, rigor mortis is determined on stiffening and all of that. And get this, they waited 2 hours after discovering that shoe to even call the coroner.
2 hours after.
Yeah.
Okay.
By then, the bodies had been exposed to sunlight, insects, and accelerating decay. So things go quick once you die.
Yeah, that's right. It was only 24 hours, right? Is that what it was?
It was less than 24 hours.
Right,
Because,
okay.
we actually won't know because the coroner can't determine when rigor mortis set in because they fucking move the bodies like a bunch of jackasses. Instead of draining the creek immediately to look for evidence, they sandbag it. Stupid.
They sandbagged. Also, would have backed up even more.
Well, they sandbagged it to stop the flow of water.
Oh, okay.
Right. But they did this after removing the bodies. They should have done it immediately. And if that wasn't enough, some evidence was reportedly stored in grocery bags. Grocery bags.
Nailed it.
You're going to tell me, could those fibers have come from the grocery bags? Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
Here's the kicker, though. As messy as the crime scene was, the investigation that followed was even worse. I feel like the investigators pinned this on the boys before they even had a clue what the hell was going on. One of the detectives was quoted saying, "It looks like Damien Echols finally killed somebody." That's a fucking actual quote.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So the police already had this.
They already had, as soon as they walked up.
These boys were going to start killing. They listen to heavy metal. It has to be them.
Oh, yeah. The officer had said that Echols' interest in heavy metal music and Wicca made him capable of such a horrific crime.
Gotta be the heavy metal.
Gotta be. Now, to be fair, West Memphis Police Department was out of its depth. This wasn't another burglary or domestic dispute. It was a gruesome triple homicide. But, instead of calling the state police, like they should have fucking done, they were like, we're going to be heroes. And Arkansas State Police actually offered to help.
And they turned it down.
They doubled down. Yep. They were like, no. And get this. That department was being investigated for corruption, according to journalist Mara Leverett.
Okay.
Yep. All the police records were a mess, and that's putting it kindly, apparently. This place is a fucking shitstorm.
It's a disaster.
They don't know what the fuck's going on.
They need new leadership by the sounds of it.
Over time, questions about the crime scene began to pile up. There was almost no blood at the scene, suggesting the boys were killed elsewhere. Years later, forensic scientist Brent Turvey noted what appeared to be a human bite marks on one of the victims. But this wasn't examined until 4 years after the trial. But then the bodies were obviously buried, and the evidence was inconclusive because even though a body would be embalmed, it's still hard after 4 years. Come on.
No, decayed in the ground.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they got buried. They were buried.
Yeah. It's so heartbreaking to think how differently this could have gone if there was a proper investigation. Small details like untested blood at the scene might have cracked this case wide open. I mean, Mr. Bojangles was bleeding. Could it have been him? We don't know.
Yeah.
Instead, the trial and media frenzy focused more on the stereotypes of fear than facts. Now, we don't know what really happened to these little angels because the issue with the evidence and lack of proper processing will basically blew this fucking entire case.
Because it sounds like they don't even really know how they died.
And there's so much that happened from the time the 3 boys were convicted, multiple appeals, and of course the lack of evidence. So after spending 18 years and 78 days in prison for the murders of 3 young boys in West Memphis, Damien,
18 years.
18 and 78 days.
God, these poor kids.
Damien, Jason, and Jessie were suddenly released on August 19th, 2011. But their freedom came through something called an Alford plea. Essentially, this fucking throws me for a loop every time. So essentially, they had to plead guilty to lesser charges of first and second degree murder while maintaining their innocence. Let that sink in. They're saying, we didn't do it, but agreeing to a deal that says otherwise. It's so confusing. The unusual plea came after years of new evidence and public pressure. Stephen Braga, a pro bono attorney who joined Echols' defense in 2009, negotiated the deal. Judge David Laser vacated the previous convictions and ordered a new trial. But instead of facing another courtroom battle, 3 men entered the Alford plea and walked free. In exchange, they couldn't sue the state for wrongful imprisonment.
There it is.
And here's the kicker. If they reoffended within 10 years, they could be sent back to prison for 21 years. But why would a prosecution agree to this? Scott Ellington, the prosecutor at the time, cited several different reasons. First, 2 of the victims' families had joined the cause for the defense, which is almost unheard of. Second, a key witness's mother came forward to question her daughter's truthfulness, undermining the testimony that had been central to the original conviction. Third, the state crime lab employee who had handled the fiber evidence, a critical piece of prosecution's case, had passed away. And finally, Ellington admitted that nearly after 2 decades, the evidence had deteriorated and public sentiment had kind of shifted. With all this stacked against him, prosecutors likely felt that a retrial would end up in an acquittal, which it should have been a fucking acquittal.
Yeah,
it should have been an acquittal the day after this all was brought to light.
And then there was going to be civil consequences for it.
Even so, Ellington maintained that he still believed the 3 were guilty. And just to throw another wrench into the mix, he announced that the state crime lab would continue testing DNA evidence from the case to look for other suspects. But let's fucking be real. By 2011, time and poor handling of the evidence, it made no sense to do that because they already knew that the evidence was fucking altered.
That's right.
And just when you think this case couldn't get any stranger, wait till you hear about the public reaction to this deal. Like, it's fucked.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. So the Alford plea might have been a legal solution, but it left pretty much everyone unhappy. Supporters of the West Memphis 3 were disappointed that they couldn't fully clear their names. Because they should have been cleared. In my opinion,
well,
they served 18 years for a crime that there is no evidence that they committed.
That's right.
They should be just cleared, in my opinion.
It's so hard to, it doesn't sound like the boys did it. I guess it's possible they did, but it sounds like there's no way they did it.
But critics who believe the men were guilty saw this as them getting away with it. So no one was happy. So the people who were like, they're innocent are pissed because they've just served 18 years. And now they're being released as criminals with that guilty look upon them.
And they shouldn't be released then if they were guilty.
Right. And then the people who are like, they're guilty, they're like, well, they're getting off. So everyone is pissed. In 2011, supporters pushed Arkansas Governor Mike Beebe to pardon the 3 men. But Beebe refused, saying he'd only consider it if there was concrete evidence proving someone else committed the murders. I can't blame him for this one because, of course, you want justice to be served. But at the same time, there was no evidence proving that they did commit these fucking murders. But now in order for them to get off, they need to find the actual culprit. But no one investigated this properly.
So the chances, you can't.
No. Without a clear alternative suspect, pardoning them would have been probably like dynamite for that community, right?
That would have been bad, yeah.
And here's the thing. The case was a perfect storm of bad policing, shoddy evidence, and a community just desperate for answers. The original investigation leaned heavily on fear and prejudice. Damien's interest in Wicca and heavy metal made him the easiest scapegoat in town. Back then, there were a lot of things going on. You've got Manson, Satanic, so people...
So
they're like, fuck that.
They dug their heels in on this. And even the jury felt the jury, you guys were like, yep, they're guilty.
But remember, these people on the jury council, they're in the Bible Belt. At the end of the day, the victims' families did deserve better, and I think the boys deserve better. Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers were robbed of their lives, and this case's mishandling robbed their families of justice. Meanwhile, 3 other lives were derailed for nearly 2 decades. It's tragedy for me all around, I think, because we won't ever know who committed these crimes. I truly, in my heart, don't think these boys did.
It doesn't sound like they did.
No. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up with the victims' families because their voices and experience are so important because there were 3 little boys who died. And it's easy to kind of forget that fact when you're looking at all of this craziness, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Over the years, their opinions about the West Memphis 3 have shifted dramatically. Back in 2000, Rick Murray, the biological father of Christopher Byers, expressed doubts about the guilty verdicts on the website dedicated to the case. Pamela Hobbs, the mother of Stevie Branch, followed suit in 2007, publicly calling for a reopening of the investigation. And then there's John Mark Byers, initially one of the most vocal believers in the trio's guilt. By 2007, he completely changed his tune, saying, I had made the comment, if it ever were proven the three were innocent, I'd be the first to lead the charge for their freedom. He wasn't just all talk either. He became one of their most outspoken advocates. So all the families started advocating for these boys.
The families of the victims.
The victims, yeah. Byers told the media he wanted justice for everyone. The victims, the families, and the three accused. Could you imagine the emotional toll of shifting, thinking like, these are the monsters that killed my kid? And then all of a sudden you're like, no. I feel like in your heart as a parent, yes, at first they probably were just so desperate to close this chapter and so heartbroken. They were like, yeah, they did it. But over time, when you really start thinking about it, they probably realize.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
It's always 2020.
Absolutely. And it's so heartbreaking. When we get to Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Stevie, in 2010, he became a central figure when he sued Natalie Maines of the Dixie Chicks. Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay, so Stevie's stepfather sues Natalie Maines of the Dixie Chicks for defamation. Maines had publicly implied that Hobbs might have been involved in the murders.
The stepdad?
Yeah.
Oh.
The suit.
So they were involved. They were talking about this?
Yeah.
Oh,
they were
Memphis?
talking. I think, are the Dixie Chicks from Memphis?
Well, it sounds like they were probably, or even
they had.
Arkansas?
I mean, they had a lot of views. Remember back then they got like defamed, and there was this whole thing with the Dixie Chicks, and now they're just called the Chicks. Do you remember that?
Oh, okay, a little bit.
Maybe not. So it didn't go well though. Hobbs lost that case. The judge ruled against him, ordering him to pay $17,000 in legal costs. The court noted that Hobbs had voluntarily entered the public conversation about the case, which left him open to scrutiny, which is true.
That's right.
If you're going to be out there putting, like, people want to come at me, I've put myself out there. You know, like, it is what it is. And I've had this conversation even just with our oldest daughter.
Yeah.
If you put yourself out there, be ready.
Be ready for it.
Because anyone can come at you.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
you've put yourself,
out there.
Yeah. Not that it makes...
Doesn't make it okay, but it's going to happen.
But it's going to happen. This lawsuit also adds another layer to an already convoluted case. It's a reminder how high emotion can really derail anything. It can separate fact from speculation. And it's really tough not to wonder how much this was driven by grief versus genuine searches for answer. And just when you think this case couldn't get any more tangled, enter Johnny Douglas.
Oh, Johnny.
Do you know who John Douglas is?
I do not know who John Douglas is.
Oh my God. I am such a fangirl.
Okay.
He is one of the original FBI's criminal profilers.
Okay.
He's like the first guy. Like, I am fangirl. Babe, I want a hall pass.
Oh, you want a hall pass?
I'm just kidding. But he took a big turn on this crime. So he profiled the crime.
Yeah.
John Douglas, he literally wrote the book on profiling.
Okay.
In his assessment of the case, he said the murders were more indicative of a single experienced offender.
Well, so when you were first talking about it,
yeah,
I was trying to get a picture of like of the killer, and I'm like, it sounds like the three young. It just sounded to me like it was a one
person job.
Kind of. I don't know why my brain went there at the beginning.
Well,
and then
here's my thought.
3 teenagers. I'm like, oh, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But
I'm going to tell you what Douglas's thought was, and then I'm going to tell you what my thought is.
All right.
He said that the crime didn't fit the narrative of a satanic ritual or the works of of unsophisticated teenagers, as the prosecution claimed. He noted that the victims likely knew their killer and that the perpetrator was familiar with the local geography. He also dismissed the idea that the knife injuries were deliberate, suggesting instead that they were caused by post-mortem animal predation. His analysis pointed to blunt force trauma and drowning as the actual cause of death.
Okay.
Here's my thought on this.
Okay.
We don't need to talk much more about the case because I feel like we've gotten to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
But if there are 3 bigger teenage boys, they wouldn't need to hogtie these kids.
No. This is my thought too.
Yeah.
And they probably, I mean, I guess it's possible they could have, but they wouldn't have needed to do so.
They wouldn't have needed to.
8-year-old boys.
They're 8-year-old boys.
And
They're
you could have
small.
convinced those boys to do anything, really.
Of course.
They would have been so scared.
I mean, if you're hog-tying them...
One person.
Yes.
You keep control of the situation.
That's my thought.
That's where my brain went right away.
This man, the Bojangles character, is my number one suspect. He showed up 2 hours after these boys, or 2.5, covered in blood with cuts.
Stab wounds.
He was delusional. There were stab wounds.
There was the hair.
Blood everywhere. The male hair. I think whoever did this is that character. It pisses me off, these boys.
They never pursued Mr. Bojangles?
No. Well, because then they would have to admit the fact that their own officer fucking took a call through a drive-through.
Yeah, and then well,
that's a corrupt system.
Yeah.
They're protecting their own.
And there would have been civil litigation, and
yeah,
that hurts and their unit already was under investigation for corruption.
That's right. So we don't know. No one ever was formally, well, the boys were formally charged, but then we all, I mean, maybe we're the only ones with this opinion. I want to know what other people's opinion is.
Well, I don't think so. I think, I'm still amazed the jurors even convicted him. I mean, that's the kind of a problem with that type of system. I guess it's the best system we have, but
yeah,
you got 12 people that weren't smart enough to get out of jury duty in the first place.
Yeah.
Kind of judging you on do you know what I mean? Like, anyways, it's what we have.
So that was my story, Michael.
I hope we did okay.
I hope we did. We are very sick.
Very sick. I can't keep my head in the game. It's hard.
He's congested. So if we sound gross, we are gross. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, so we are gross.
Yeah, we are gross. We're snotty. We're disgusting.
You want to go get under the sheets maybe now?
Okay, Michael.
Okay, sorry.
It's not that kind of podcast.
Oh, it's not that.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Michael, for joining me in the closet.
Well,
yeah, he's bad. But thanks again.
Thanks again,
Chantal will be back soon.
Hopefully. She's better at this than I am, that's for sure.
Yeah, we definitely feel her presence being missed.
We do.
Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on Triggered, where we dive deep into the dark, the twisted, and the cosmic mysteries of the universe.
Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, always watch the stars and your back.